The subject is RealBird Pro and the MLS, and how to combine these two for best results. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because, as you might imagine, we get lots of calls from agents, and some of them are asking, well, okay, so I'm getting all this from the MLS, or I'm getting marketing from my broker, and why do I need RealBird? And some others are asking, I want to automate my listing work through the MLS. Why should I manually add my listings to RealBird when it's already in the MLS? I don't have time to do that. And so I thought I'll talk about this today, and hopefully what I'm telling you makes some sense. If you have attended the last webinar about 2 weeks ago, I will also talk about a little bit about the features in RealBird that you have, just for those people who have not been attending the last one. And there's some overlap there, but I hope that's going to be still interesting to you. Now, we record these webinars, and they will be available after they're processed on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.realbird.com. youtube.realbird.com. All right, so let's get going here. I thought that maybe to start with, it would be useful to review what the roles of the MLS are. And the reason I'd like to review this, I'm sure, I mean, you're agents, so of course you use the MLS every day. But again, by talking to agents, it is not clear to me that everybody knows what it is. They're using it, but a lot of them are losing sight of why the MLS exists. And I remember back in 1992, I was standing in line there at our MLS here in the Bay Area with a bag of 8 modems to get their data, and agents were coming in and out, and the way they were marketing their listings was that they had little black and white books, and those books were pretty valuable because they had to pay money for it. I don't exactly know how much they were. They were, I don't know, $15, $20. They were really ugly pictures in there with little summary, 2-3 lines on the bottom. And look where we got from there. At that time, people were laughing about the internet, and look where we are today. Everybody's with their phones, and these phones are sort of like much better than those books. But the MLS has been created to serve brokers, and it is a database of listings, obviously, but the primary purpose is to provide a facility to publish a unilateral offer of compensation by a listing broker to other broker participants. And it's a transactional purpose, right? It hasn't been at that time, and even today, that's the main purpose. The marketing function of the MLS that some of them have taken on the internet has been added lately because, of course, their members have been asking, well, you have all these listings, why don't you generate leads for us? So again, it is a database for brokers and agents, and it's a means for licensed agents to cooperate to sell homes. And it has some advantages, which I'll list a little bit in a few moments. It enforces the data quality and the accuracy, and also it provides services to agents, right? So you can go to many MLSs. Sometimes the associations do that, and they offer courses, forums, technical support. And these days, they provide also statistical data to the various publications and government bodies, right? So how many homes have been sold, what the forecasts are. And some of them do these analyses themselves, some of them use outside companies. But last, on their list, I think, is for most of them, and there are 600 MLSs today. I haven't been able to get an exact number, but anywhere between 500 and 600. There has been some consolidation, but I think there's still about 4, 5, 600 MLSs around. And the last function is online marketing of listings, right? So they've taken that on because members have asked them to do so, and it has evolved over time. IDX came about, and threats, and all these different things. So that's about the MLS. So what are the benefits of your marketing through the MLS? Well, it doesn't require extra effort or cost from you to use that because you're already a member of the MLS. And and as far as I know, most MLSs don't charge extra to publish your listings through the IDX feed to other agents. And the other benefit is that it does enforce legal rules and data accuracy, right? As opposed to publishers like us, where you sign up for an account and you put your listings in, and then if you forget about it, we can't do much about it. We can take it off, or we can remind you, but to update it. But in our terms of use, there is no such thing as a penalty if you don't update the listing every day. But the MLS, of course, does penalize you if you don't do it right. And so most agents, or probably all agents, make an extra effort to do that so the data is accurate. Now, what are the drawbacks of the MLS? And this is not, by the way, I put this PowerPoint presentation slides, this few slides here together simply because it's easier to talk about it if I have it in front of my eyes. But I'll also go and show you hands-on a little bit how RealBird works on this. And then if you have questions, please type it in. That's why we have this chat box. So what are the drawbacks? Well, this is listing marketing that the MLS does. They don't market you as an agent. And of course, they have all these agents members, and why would they promote one agent as opposed to the other? So most of them, I think, or all of them, they essentially do listing marketing. So if you have a listing, it's a good way to sell a listing, but it's not going to do much for your brand. Listings go to these major portals like Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, Trulia, but smaller regional portal sites have no access to that data, and those are still a good way to generate leads, right? It's really not a very strong proposition to generate leads for buyers agents. If you are an agent and you want to work with buyers, you probably will have to do something else in order for the buyers to know that you exist. It is also not very good for generating seller leads. Why? Because somebody who wants to sell their house, if they go to the MLS website or to some other agent's website, why would they call you? They have such a wide range of agents that they can choose from, and the information through IDX, as I will point out later, also has nothing about you. So the MLS is really not promoting your brand either very much. If anybody disagrees with me, feel free to type this in. This is a presentation in progress here. So the IDX has come about. I forget how many years ago, but it's been around for quite a while. It's based on broker reciprocity, and a lot of agents, I think, are confusing IDX with a property search. They call the property search on their website that they get with data from the MLS an IDX, and it's fine if you call it that. But IDX is really an internet data exchange. It's an agreement, and it's for these listings to be made available to agents in their entirety, the active listings, so that they can put a property search on their website. And a lot of these providers also take out featured listings from the IDX data. So a consequence of the fact that everybody gets the same data, and I'll point this out a little bit later, is that there is no SEO using IDX data. There used to be a few years ago marketing calls from various vendors that, we'll make your each listing available as an indexable file on your website so that Google can look at it and index it. But that has changed. So don't rely on that pitch anymore, because of course Google will see the same information on thousands of agents' websites, and why would it index yours more than somebody else's? So the whole SEO game has changed over the past 5, 6, maybe even 10 years. Now, there's also cost to get the IDX data. While it's free for you after you sign up for the MLS and you put your listings on there, it's free for you to have your listing moved to other agents, and it's good for you to do that because, of course, that's the primary purpose of the MLS. In order for you to get IDX data for your property search on your website, it will cost you money, either through the website provider or you have to pay directly. And it's not a lot of money. It's worth it. So I'm not saying not to do it, but there's a cost usually associated with that. Well, what is RealBird? Well, RealBird is an online lead prospecting tool set. It is to generate buyer leads, seller leads, and to promote your brand, right? And these are important things. I mean, buyer leads and seller leads you get in other ways as well. Promoting your brand today is usually it was done with advertising. I will point out some other ways how you can do it with RealBird more effectively, and that was the subject of 2 weeks ago, the webinars. But that's an important part, because that's why somebody who wants to buy or sell a house will decide to work with you if they understand that you're the best agent or a good agent for them. And importantly, it also helps you, if you do it right, increase your online presence. And what I mean by that is that a few years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you could do all kinds of SEO type of games to bring your agent website to the forefront in a Google search. But today that's really hard to do, simply because the first pages of any search results are dominated by either people who pay a lot of money to Google or these big portals. And so your alternative really to get exposure to buyers and sellers online is to spread your information out into the world. And by analogy to real life, I would say, I was thinking about what's a good analogy, and I came up with this. Let's say that you have thousands of dollars and you buy a big display sign on a main freeway around your town, and you pay, I don't know, $5,000-$10,000 for it. Well, that's one place lots of people are driving by. They will see it. So that's like buying advertising on Zillow or on Google. But the alternative is that you don't have that money. You go home, you print out lots of flyers with your laser printer, and then you go and you post it on most every pole around town. Now, the effect there is that you have many of these. Some will be taken down by people, some will be taken down by rain, but people will see it, and hopefully you get exposure by spreading your information out like that. And what you can do with RealBird is do that with your sold listings, because sold listings are a good vehicle for you to promote your brand if you add extra content. And again, that's what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Now, I should point out here that RealBird does not provide agent websites. So we are not in that business at this point. If you want an agent website, I can refer you to Eric, who is not here, as I said, but he does this kind of stuff, or Katrina, who runs the Listing Academy on Facebook. Now, here is a little table I put together, MLS versus RealBird. The listing marketing side, the MLS sends your all the listings to all the agents, to major portals. Sometimes MLSs have websites and they put their listing there as well. Of course, the disadvantage there is that they don't have much money to promote those websites. So most people who start looking for a house or for an agent do something else. They either they mostly go to Google and start a search there. With RealBird, our syndication is to minor portals. As you know, probably, or if you don't know, I'm telling you now, Zillow and Trulia are not taking any more publisher listings. They stopped doing that in 2017, July 1st. And so that's not available through RealBird. But there's quite a few minor portals which still are visited by lots of consumers. So that's where we send our listings, and the list of those portals is available in your RealBird dashboard under My Listing Syndication Network. I will go there in a second. Here, let me just go there now, and I will show you where that is. So in case you want to know, I'll log in. RealBird. Okay, so if you go to your dashboard, there is a link here called My Listing Syndication Network or Our Listing Syndication Network. If you click on that, you will get the list, and it's branded to you, so you can print this out and you can use it for your listing marketing. All right, continue here. Localization. So by what I mean by this is that for some client to work with you, they prefer agents who know the local area. And a lot of areas have many neighborhoods, right? Some don't, some are just one little city or something, but in many places like the Bay Area or big metro areas, there's lots of neighborhoods. And in general, you don't find very much information about the neighborhoods on the MLS, or they don't put that in your listings. You have to put it if they allow you to do that. So that's a weak proposition there. With RealBird, of course, you can add as much information as you want, and so that allows you to promote yourself as a neighborhood specialist. Brand promotion, not available in the MLS. Of course, some of them have agent directories. I'm not saying that those are not available, but the thing is that they're not focusing on that, and also I don't think that they will play games like Zillow, where you can pay a lot of money and you get the zip code. At least I don't know of any MLS who does that. Of course, with RealBird, you can add any information. I'll show you an example. Any information about yourself that you want to promote. And let's say you have 50 listings, sold listings, and 4 active ones or 5 active ones. Well, all those will promote you, and they're all websites online that, if you do it right, they can be found with a Google search. SEO, as I said before, there's not much SEO you get today from listings promoted through the IDX, unless you do some extra stuff. With RealBird, if you add extra content, and again, I'm coming back to this, that the game has changed to content. Relevant, original, and authentic content, right? That's what Google is looking for. The online footprint, of course, the MLS is not going to generate for you by default any online footprint. Of course, with RealBird, if you do it right, you can do this by promoting your neighborhood knowledge and your brand using these various listings and widgets of listings. So let's see what has to happen for you to get a new lead. And this is now a little bit what I spoke about last time, 2 weeks ago. Again, it's good to reinforce this. Well, one, a consumer has to find you, and when the consumer, because you don't know when a consumer comes online, so what do? They sit down in front of a computer, they look at the screen, and they start educating themselves about buying or selling, whatever they want to do. And so they have to find you because you don't know that they decided today to buy or sell a house. Then once they find you, let's say they find your agent website or whatever they find from you or about you, the consumer has to tell you who they are and what they're looking for. And again, I can't point this out enough that the big hurdle here is the short attention span that people have, right? People have very short attention spans these days. It varies. Mine is, figured it out about 2 minutes. I'm finding something new. I take a look at it. If I'm not that terribly interested, then I'm going to go away in 2 minutes. If I'm interested, of course, I'm going to either bookmark it or read it right there. But the short attention span is really important in marketing today to remember, because a lot of agents I see have the tendency to use lots of pictures and very complicated Matterport virtual tours for their marketing and so on. And all those things are really good to have, but not for lead generation. Why? Because nobody has the time to look at them. You can put their, a 1 hour video and nobody's gonna look at it because they don't have time, or they have to go and then they forget to bookmark it, even if they like it. So in the short attention span that people have, you have to make them understand that you're a better agent than those 5 that they've reviewed earlier, right? And so that's the game here, and you can do that with RealBird. I'll show you an example. So, of course, they have to decide that you're the right agent, and that's a brand communication. As I said last time, everything is bait for you. So listings and whatever you put on your website or whatever you put anywhere, it's all bait. You are the product in lead generation. You need to sell yourself. And why should you do this? Why should you spend extra time? Because it does take extra time. Well, you should do it because a good lead is a lot of money, right? So it does pay to spend a little bit of extra time, and it's not that much time really if you figure this out. It's only maybe, when you start doing this to create original content, it takes you maybe an hour or so, but then you can reuse it, and the next time you do it, it's going to be much faster. All right. So meanwhile, Anne has put a comment here that we use RealBird internet flyers to promote our listings, and Anne has been a long time. Anne and her husband has been a long-term clients of ours, and thank you, Anne, for the comment. All right. So let's see, what will move a consumer to choose you? Well, as I said, you have to show that you're a neighborhood specialist, because buyers and sellers would rather work with somebody who knows their area. You have to have experience with the type of property. If somebody wants to buy a luxury home, they'd rather work with somebody who has experience with luxury properties or rentals or commercials or whatever that is. What matters is references and testimonials, and if you put those just on your website, well, you better hope that they go there and they read it, or if you think that they're going to go to Zillow, because Zillow and some of these sites that have Realtor.com has also about agents, and yes, you should put it in there, and yes, it should be there, but don't count on people to find it or to go there, because there's 10,000 other agents there. So if you only believe in that, then I have here a little exclamation mark, and I need to close it. All right. And they have to like you. So charisma is still important. And I can't, emphasize that enough. It's all about personal links here and how you establish yourself as an agent to be likable. It's not just about the picture, but what you write in there. Some people have different tastes, and you're the specialist. I'm not going to give you ideas there, because I'm not an agent, so I'm not a good one to advise on that. But try to to show yourself within that short attention span as a likable person. So these are the things that matter when somebody who doesn't have a brother agent or a friend agent or somebody referred to them is sitting down, have decided to buy or sell a house, and they're starting to looking for an agent, right? And so this all has to happen within those few minutes. Well, I'll list here some of the features, and this is just sort of like as an overview, because of course, if you log into your RealBird account, you can see a lot of these, and I'll show these to you in a minute live on my account. So you can, in every RealBird account, you can put unlimited single property websites. These are true websites. The the definition of a website. These are not pages, these are websites. The definition of a website is a collection of HTML pages and code and media, and it doesn't have to have a domain name. That's, again, something that I need to point out. A lot of agents, they think that the website has to have a domain name. No, it doesn't have to have a domain name. Every page has a URL. URLs are unique. That's why they're called URLs, unique record locators. And you can attach a domain name by buying it through us or anywhere and forwarding it. And we allow you to add as many property websites. And one of the reasons we decided to do that is because we want agents to accumulate these sold sites. And I have clients who have hundreds of sold sites. Now, not all of them will be useful. So if you have if you go into the hundreds, then already what I recommend is that you cull it down and use the ones that are most likely to produce leads for you, because it's going to be, a little bit difficult to manage that many. But it's possible. I have agents who do that. And if you have an assistant, then the more the better. We give you virtual tours. So if you right now pay money for those, then you should take a look at what you get through RealBird. You get them, of course, automatically once you create a property website. Landing pages for listings are important. We do automatic syndication to the portals, as I showed you that list just a moment ago. We give you social media marketing tools, and these tools are useful, of course. Everything here is only useful if you use it and if you actually put some effort into it, other than the automatic syndication, which happens automatically when you enter a listing and you click the publish button. But all this other stuff is manual, right? Now, again, why do you do it? Well, because there's a lot of money in it. I don't know of any profession where one good lead can mean so much money as in real estate if it works out for you, right? Not even lawyers. I mean, lawyers are charging by the hour. For me, if I talk here for an hour, at best a client pays me $200 when they subscribe to our service. But for you, of course, it's thousands of dollars. So that's why it's worth doing it. So we're in a different business. You get posting codes, active rain. I suggest that you really use these, because the consumers go all over the place and you don't know what they like, right? So you don't know. Some people like Craigslist, even though you may not like Craigslist, but they do, and you don't want to miss out on that. And Craigslist has places to post individual listings and also real estate services. And you should promote your brand through the real estate services section. We give you emailing tool. Why is that important? I'll show you in a minute where in your member area. Well, you can involve a lot of sellers. If you get a seller, like to be involved with marketing their listings, right? They're proud of their house, and if you help them with that, then here it's one click away. You just send this email to them, and they'll send it to their friends. Why not, right? We give you listing inventory widgets. So these widgets are really useful because you can, with the listings, individual listings, of course, you show a listing, but if you create a widget that shows all your actives or your sold or a combination or a rentals, then you can further specialize yourself and brand yourself, because if you want to market yourself to renters, you create a rental widget. If you want to market yourself to commercial property owners and sellers or buyers, then you create that, right? And you promote it through your whatever you use for your branding, your flyers, your texting, whatever it is. We give you open house sign-in form. That's a utility that's useful if you have an open house. Mobile website, SMS marketing. I can't overstate the importance of this here. And to my chagrin, a lot of agents sign up and they overlook this because they think they have texting anyways on their phones. No, you don't. This is an autoresponder, right? It costs you $1 a month for the phone number. You don't even pay to us. You pay to this company called Twilio, who gives you this phone number. It's $1 a month and some totally minimal texting charges. And what this allows you to do is not just not just provide a text code to the public with which they can retrieve and look at your listings, and you always get the lead, of course, with texting, which is not the case with anything else, but it sets you apart from everybody else who doesn't understand this, right? And it's a good tool. If you have a listing presentation, you walk in there, you pre-create a listing in RealBird, save it as draft, you take some pictures from the street or whatever. You walk in there and say, hey, it's not just that I'm going to syndicate it and I'm going to use the virtual tours and this and that. I'm going to promote this code, this call to action that says to see this house, text XYZ to this number. And a lot of people, or all people, are with their phones in their hand now, or with their nose in their phones, and they like texting. They're not afraid of texting as opposed to emailing. Maybe their email has been taken and put on spam lists, but and they don't want to give their emails on squeeze pages. But texting, everybody texts, and you always get the lead with it. Anyways, that's for texting. And we have also property search, which I admit now that we had it for about 12 years. Initially with Google, we had listings from Google, and then now we have it with Google. In many areas, this doesn't work well anymore because there's not enough listings. But on the other hand, most agents today have IDX property searches anyway. So we left it in there, and it's a good property, so you can use it where it works. But it's just a free add-on, and it's for lead generation. Now, I should say a few words about automating the listing marketing from the MLS with RealBird. We have something called the autopilot, which you can see the little ad when you log into your RealBird account. On the right-hand side, there's a little description of it. And we get a lot of calls for that because, of course, agents want to automate it. I'd like to just say a few words about it. It is not, we don't take an IDX feed, right, for that. I mean, technically, of course, we could, but we don't want to do it because it's a lot of work. We have to get an IDX agreement. We have to pay a lot of money. And if we don't have enough clients in one particular MLS, then it's just not worth it. It's a lot of, but you can ask your MLS or your IDX provider if he can provide you with a Trulia or Zillow standard XML feed. And you can Google XML. It is a markup language and the standard has been developed by Trulia and Zillow at the time when this was 10 years ago when we started working with them, and they were starting to take listings from people like us, right? And then they needed a standard so that everybody sends it in the same way. So there's a standard which is available on Zillow's website. You can Google for it, and that's the feed we want. Only of your featured listings. The problem with automating through IDX, the featured listing, is that you have to get the whole MLS today. It's just because it's so backward. They're still in the 20th century with this technology. And you have to get the whole IDX feed, which is God knows how many listings in an area. I don't know, 10,000, 20,000 more. And then you have to fish out based on agent IDs, the agent's listings. Now, if you do that for lots of agents, okay, it's worth it. But if you do it for a few, it's just not worth it because just the storage space and all that and the whole, they change things, it's just not worth it. So if we can get an XML feed, then we can do that. There's an extra cost there, right? So there's a setup fee. I think it's $100 if there's no extra work there. And then there's it's $399 a year. We can then take your listings through this XML feed, which would come from your IDX provider or from the MLS, and create this property website. But again, the disadvantages that I listed before are valid here because it has then just information what's on the MLS. And in order for you to create a growing brand awareness for yourself and SEO and all this stuff, you would have to add extra content. I'm going to show you in a second what that is, but there is still extra work available. It's good to sell the listing through these syndication sites if you just use the automation. But again, the disadvantage is that you need to still add brand information to each listing. So I do not recommend, this is the last note here on my slides, but I do not recommend that you post to social media automatically. We give you these tools. I'll show you where it is. But social media is called social media because it's social. And if it was automated media, it would be called automated media. People on social media, Facebook and so on, they expect to have a personal, close to something like a personal relationship for the agent. That's why they come to Facebook and or to Twitter or wherever. So always try to be personal about this. And when you have a new listing and you post it, make a comment on it and then put the link in there or something so that they see that there's a live agent there. Anyway, so now let me just show you in the RealBird area the let me just go there again, open a new browser. I'll show you a little bit in the member area how you can do this this customization and branding and so on. Let me log in. Sorry. Here, I'll show you to start with. I'll show you a website that I usually use for my clients to show to see, so you can see a finished website that has this extra content. Well, we have here a little glitch, technical glitch somehow with my browser. Why does this always happen when it's the worst time? Let me just get out of here. Okay, so this here is a website that I usually show. So you may have seen this, but the reason I show this is because it illustrates the points I made about the extra content. And this is lady Rona, is an agent here in the Bay Area, pretty successful, and she sold this house a long time ago. Probably the price now is more than this. It's probably triple by now. But let's say that this sold listing is found by somebody who just decided to buy or sell a house here in Atherton, right? This is in Atherton, California. This little town is next to me here. Google is here, and Facebook and LinkedIn and all these different companies. And let's say somebody decided to buy or sell a house here. Well, they go to Google. I mean, they go to many other places, but let's say they find this. So that's the assumption here. They find this either through Google search or she emailed it to them or a friend emailed it to them, whatever. Would they call this agent Rona for if it's a sold house? Maybe and maybe not. They would say, well, okay, it's a nice listing, but they would go away. Except if they look at this listing and they go here to the neighborhood section. So let's say they click on neighborhood here. Now, they read this and they say, wow, this lady really knows Atherton because she put together all this information about Atherton. So what effect does this have? The effect here is that psychologically, somebody who doesn't know this Rona will much more likely decide to call her or email her if they want to buy or sell a house here because they see that she specializes in the neighborhood. But there is also a Google effect, and the Google effect is this SEO effect. That is, as you know, and as I told you here several times today, Google indexes everything today based on relevance, originality, and authenticity of content, right? Now, that doesn't mean you have relevant and original content that you're going to be on the first page of Google by far, but it is one important criterion. And you need to do all kinds of other stuff, but it's on the way there. So unless you do this, you're never going to get there, except with a lot of money. And so by putting this information together, Google is going to index this. And if you do it right, you go also to a keyword analyzer, which you can find with Google. And what you do is you go here and you type in Google AdWords tool, right? And you get a lot of these links here, and you go to one of these, and Google offers some. So here, for example, keyword research and stats. This is for Google itself. You use this, for example, and you see what people are typing in to search for real estate related information, and then you take those words, you put them in a spreadsheet, so to keep them, so you don't have to do the research every time, and then you put them in this content, right? And what that does, now you have original content with keywords that a lot of people type in, and when somebody types in that kind of keywords, Google will find this in your content because it indexed it, because it's original, and will hopefully bring your sold listing up. So that's the effect. That's the Google effect. And as you have more and more of these listings,